Hey, it's AJ Zulu here, and welcome to an AATROX Rework discussion video. And I will be going through his voice lines, his design aspects, and comparing with the old version to the new one, and what Riot has done over almost a month now to make the best out of the rework, even though there has been a significant amount of backlash against him compared to other champion reworks. And we will get into a little bit of Akali in the end of this video in terms of her design comparing to the new and old, which will emphasize some of the points that I make with Aatrox. So in the first part, I would like to talk about the voice lines, and it seems that a significant amount of people still like the old voice lines of Aatrox, saying that it's has great lines, which I certainly agree, and it definitely makes one feel the need for battle, as the old Aatrox is. He comes into any random battle and he will swing the tide for any one side just because he is someone who desires battles and wars. But if you just take a look and listen here,
this battle will be my masterpiece. Hesitation is death. Violence is elegance. Cut the courage from them.
I mean, why is he whispering? I do not understand this. If he is someone who goes into battle, he's the one fighting himself. Why is he talking in such a soft tone, a calming tone? And asking around, it seems that, oh, his soft tone just shows how he is very confident in battle. But I feel like it's such a twist and does not go together with what it means to fight. You can see with a lot of other champions or even movie characters that if they are going into battle, they strive to inspire their soldiers. They're not whispering to their soldiers, they're like shouting to the heavens, trying to inspire them and have the feeling of going to battle. That's why they are battle roars. They scream of battle cry, and this guy is just whispering to them. This, even though the lines themselves I would say are pretty good, the execution of it, and this has nothing to do to criticize the voice actor, but just the people at Riot who gave instructions to the voice actor, may not be as good. And that's why I still think the new Aatrox voice line and its character
is your absolution. I will not send you to death, Yorick. I bring oblivion.
The execution again to the voice of him being this massive anger darkened fits better within the character of Aatrox. And with this old version,
this battle will be my masterpiece.
His soft tone just sounds very much like Swain, like a general.
Fear the power you do not see. Do not confuse cowardice for wisdom.
See, so in Swain's case, he's just a general. He's not one to go out into battle himself. And so as a wise general, he'll be soft-spoken, calm, and very in control with the situation. And that's sort of the same thing with the old Aatrox, very calm voice and in control of the situation. But the difference is he's fighting, so how someone who's fighting will have a calm speaking tone, except for someone who is a master of a certain martial arts and craft, like someone with Buddhist or Zen like religious references. So like if it was a Master Yi basically is more soft spoken because he's in control of the sword, including Yasuo as well. But for both of them. As an example to this is that they are solo warriors. I'm not sure for Master Yi, but this is especially for Yasuo. He's not there to inspire others to fight with him, but he's just there calm because he is confident with his own skills. As for, again, the old Aatrox, he's supposed to inspire others to fight with him. So even if the reason of his soft-spoken voice is that he's confident in his skills and abilities to fight in battle, the voice tone itself does not lend to inspire others to fight alongside with him. And thus I shall say the new voice line, the execution at least, is much better and portrays the character much better, even including being a darken. The only thing that the new voice line that does not hold is definitely the lines themselves, the text. Before we were just talking about the style of voice within the character, but in this case, unfortunately, the new Aatrox is riddled with jokes that either do not fit him, or there's only jokes for specific serious characters. So we go to the new Aatrox and there are taunts, and what does he taunts have?
I'm like a demon, but more edgy, right? So I'm Aatrox. I'm nice world.
These are taunts, but they're all jokes. What's the deal here? We go into the old Aatrox and, well, unfortunately he has fewer lines, but the jokes are within the jokes.
This is no mere massacre. This is my master.
But then we go to his taunts, which he has, the old taunts has more than the new taunts. So what's up?
Fight and be remembered. Fight as a hero. Fight and be remembered.
So, and this is the main thing that people were comparing. The old taunts versus the new joke-ish taunts, which I think Riot definitely dropped the ball on this one. Just call these ones jokes and then have a whole list of taunts, but all of his sort of quote-unquote taunts went to the interaction with other champions, which in that case is still rather poor, let's say, especially with his darkened friends. I don't even want to play them. You have obviously heard them, but both of these are just jokes against Kayn. Where's the more serious lore aspects and response to Kayn or Varus? It's okay to have jokes in the video game, but then when it comes to lore and people who enjoy the lore of League, and this also includes people who want the character to not break the fourth wall, basically, this is definitely a fail. If it were like 2 other taunts or even 3 where it is more serious, replying to Kayn and their history together, that would have been much better and a better balance as well, a pass basically. Another one would be Taric, that is a lot of people were mentioning. There's only one taunt again, and it's a joke once again. Get a haircut. Sure, keep it, but have another one that is a little bit more serious and relevant to the lore and more closer to what the actual Aatrox might be. If this is actually accurate to the real Aatrox, is he actually a joker, or are they gonna make an excuse saying that he's just turned crazy being trapped in a sword for a very long time, and thus he needs to make such jokes to keep his sanity together, what's left of it at least. I do certainly enjoy, and like to give a small positive, I certainly enjoy the taunts against Zoe. His desire to kill her really gets my blood boiling, and so that is definitely a win for his voice line. And talking around once again and seeing people's opinion, it just seems that people are more accepting of the style of voice, but they miss the voice lines themselves. And the easiest fix is to simply get these voice lines back into the new Aatrox and make them as taunts. And I think that would make a lot of people happy that way. And of course some of these, but I won't get into the specifics at this moment. So let's move on to the splash arts. The more unfortunate thing about this is that the previous reworks, and I'm not gonna list them accurately, but I'll just reference again to Swain and Evelyn, where all, if not most of them, got full new splash arts. And the unfortunate thing for this Aatrox is simply that the splash arts here are relatively the same except for the first one and a few others. Here, as you can see, is just almost same body. You add a new shoulder and then you change the design of the sword. Wings have also been changed, and it's literally almost like a reskin. This is also why I will bring up Akali as an example. Here again we have the mecha, they changed the sword here which we cannot see, and then they changed the wings behind them. So this is the most excusable out of all the other splash art skins, just mainly because he's in a group photo with all of his other, I don't want to say friends, but you know what I mean, the skins that are in the same style to him. So this is somewhat of a pass, but just very unfortunate that the other skins are like again reskins and does not change anything with its composition or style, just updates the sword and small changes to the wings and small armor. Here that they added wings to Aatrox, and though I think the main skin that benefit the most out of the wings is certainly the mecha Aatrox. Looks definitely much better, and it also looks a lot better when the sword is on his back. It doesn't just look kind of naked in a way. The wings certainly add a lot flair and makes him look rather complete. It also makes it look like his wings are folded and then it comes up again when he's fighting. If anyone is curious within the animation aspect, his wings certainly folds inward when he does his Q and backflip, so it doesn't make the visual of those Q animation too muddy or annoying to see. So that's a very good thing. So now that we talked about the skins and how, and also the skins themselves doesn't have a lot of change. Once again, with Swain and Evelyn, the best reason I can come up with is that they're much older champions. They don't look as good, but Aatrox is also pretty old, respectively. But in the case of Swain and Evelyn, those skins and their splash arts are really below Riot standard, and thus they have to make full new ones, and they look really awesome. But in Aatrox's case, it seems that they have decided that it's good enough, and so they don't have to make as much drastic changes or full new like skin designs or skin splash arts themselves. The next thing I would like to talk about is the sword, as one of the things that I definitely miss with the old Aatrox. As you can see within this frame, this new sword is just like a large hunk of sword. It reminds me very closely to Garen, of a guy with a large sword, and that's the end of it. As for the old Aatrox, it's like the sword can stretch, it moves because it's inherently alive. People seem to go crazy that there is a heartbeat on the new sword, and I could sort of understand it, but it's such a small visual thing within the entirety of Aatrox, and with his animation you cannot see the heart anyways, whilst when you're fighting here the sword whips and moves, and you can certainly, and I think it represents the sword itself being alive and being sentient much better. It also certainly feels like the old version has more demonic emotions to it compared to the new one, where it just looks like a regular old sword, which might be the purpose as well, since the sword itself isn't supposed to look demonic. It's just possessed by a demonic spirit within it, trapped within it. So I can certainly see their reasons behind it. If anything, I would say this sword brings a nice balance between demonic like edge while still being closest to the newest version. Not to say that I would want the original old Aatrox sword back, because having 3 edges is a little bit too edgy for me, honestly. But I certainly miss the idea aspect of the sword being able to stretch, and having the new sword being so thick stretched like that certainly would not look natural. And I suppose they thicken it and made it longer, including the handle, to have that length in of itself. I don't know right now if the ultimate actually makes the sword or your attack range longer, but that is for another time. But certainly miss the idea of Aatrox sword being able to stretch as you swing it. Another thing that I kind of miss, understandably, is the idea that Aatrox is an auto attacking champion. Currently he's more based on spells, and with the sense of outplaying and making good plays, it seems that Riot has added extra animation to his Q just to make it look more fantastical and cooler, even though you're not as a player doing too much. But at the same time, using his Q and E as a combo to hit that special AoE knockout is certainly, I think, would take more skill compared to the old one, whereas here in the old version you're just pressing Q and maybe plus flash just to auto attack, and the new one certainly takes much more finesse to accomplish and to play properly. Just have a small tangent on his skill set. Though Aatrox is certainly very strong right now, once people are able to learn him, this is a very similar thing happened with Swain. Is most likely going to happen again with the new Akali, that they are all strong, but their playstyle might change just a little bit. But I have full faith with Akali that she might keep her playstyle closest to the original compared to Aatrox that has changed quite a lot, and that's why the backlash has been what it is so far. But it seems to have died down once people got to learn him, and others, unfortunately, very unfortunately, had to change their main role or champion, or if not, just leave the game right then and there, which is always a sad thing. But even though he seems very strong, a lot of bans, let's just talk about some of his skills, especially with the E. Q being very cool with all these flashy animations. Once again, E is really pathetic looking, and I don't know how they could change it. It's a very short distance, which might be necessary, so for him to look like he's dashing a far distance is going to be difficult. Comparing dashes to Lucian, where there seems to be an actual dash animation that you would see with like those comic book characters, or even normal animations where it's like a swipe, a swing kind of thing. So when Lucian dash, he looks like he's moving quickly. Kindred's doesn't really have a dash, but she has a small jump, so it's a similar distance to Aatrox or Lucian, where she hops and then gives a small somersault, I believe, and that looks very graceful. For Aatrox's case, and this might just be on purpose, and is that he just looks like he almost trips over but then picks himself back up again. But the main idea here is that he's just a large hunk of dude, and so for a large hunk of dude to dash or to move quickly in a short distance, that is what it would look like. Don't have any solutions, but just want to point that out. A W is okay in of itself, has very clear outplay potential, but at the same time very strong when done correctly. With his ultimate and the problem with its fear, it just seems that the main reason why they have the fear in the first place is because they don't want the Aatrox himself to be stuck under any minion block. Otherwise people will be definitely very upset if you ulti and then you're just stuck within the minions and then you cannot get out for a couple of seconds. So that's why they cause the fear of your own allies and enemy minions in the first place. And this is something that I wonder why League of Legends just doesn't do, or just do it for every champion, is that all the champions can just walk through minions without getting minion block. Compared to Dota, you can block minion creeps, you can like block people's path to walk wherever they want to go. It's a very purposeful design that you can have minion block, you can hold them back, make them slow down, but you cannot slow down the League of Legends minion in any way, shape, or form. But once those minions line up, somehow they start blocking your pathway. It just doesn't make any sense. But for now, in Aatrox's case, since he's ulti, he got wings, he's technically flying, why not just allow him to fly over the minions and he just walks through them casually? He won't be minion blocked, and with people's concern that your own minions being feared and not being able to attack the enemy, you are losing quite a lot of damage against your enemy. Imagine you're just fighting one-on-one and you have the advantage of having more enemies than your opponents, and your opponent is a fool to fight you under so many more minions, and you need to ulti. All your minions are now running away, and now you have lost a significant amount of damage, especially for the early game. So having Aatrox and his ulti being able to just fly over the minions and not fearing them, but fearing the enemy minions, that might be just a nice change and life improvement. They did a great job for improving his ulti, where when you die and about to respawn, your Q actually doesn't go on cooldown, and that you can still activate it when it's all done. But one must realize that as you are respawning or coming back to life, that duration is also counting down the Q, so you will have to activate that Q very, very quickly once you actually come back to life once again. It's also another thing that a lot of people are talking about, and my only reference is back to solo Renekton, is that even though your desire is to actually die within your ultimate, if you don't die and you're still low, technically all of that healing you have done is wasted, and thus you will technically just die right out. This might just be a balancing design decision where the enemy team must not focus down the Aatrox and just wait for his ulti to end and then they kill him, or it's just a weird interaction that doesn't make too much sense and can really be frustrating in the end. His idea is to just give Aatrox a shield relative to whatever healing he has done. This could just be reference to Kaisa as a excuse for why it's a good idea and that other people has done it. I imagine that it would have been just flat HP similar to Tryndamere Q, but then again it will be too similar, so the shield might be better. But in this case, since Aatrox does have a lot of healing with his E and his build of having Ravenous Hunter, I think that's the rune, and Death Dance, is that whatever healing you do, the shield will get replaced by that HP healing, instead of other champions where if you have a 500 HP shield and you're healing up 500 HP, then you're like have a total of 1000 HP. In Aatrox's case, if you have a 500 shield, then if he heals up 500 HP, it will just replace the shield instead of adding on top of each other. Might take a little extra coding, but that's just a small idea for it. On the other hand, people were mentioning how W seems to be a little bit boring, and that his ulti should have some interaction with the W, where once activated, you will chain the champions who are closer to you. This just seems like a cool idea, but certainly not what Aatrox needs to be good. Okay, so back to the splash art once again. Let's go and look at Akali. So here again, Akali, and we were talking about the splash art where Aatrox doesn't have changed so much. This is her new art, and a lot of people seem to like this quite a lot, but I do not understand how this is the same as Crimson Akali. With the old version, this almost looks like Blood Moon Akali, but we all know this is what Blood Moon Akali looks like. So once again, these aren't so great splash arts, and that's why the splash arts here are all changed and all much better with composition and with Riot's standards with their artwork. But going back to Aatrox Bilgewater skin, Akali also has the same thing going on for her, which is this one. The pose is relatively the same, as you can see right here. She still has the same hair and the same pose. The only thing different is her knife here. So let me move this out of the way right here. So the knife here has been changed, while most of the pose is relatively the same, which is again no problem, I suppose. This skin is relatively new and is much closer to the art style that Riot has done for over the past year, and like when you scroll through them, it fits in with all the other skins quite well. So they don't need to make much changes here. Just update the knife so that it fits with her new weapon design, including this one. The cooking, I don't think it needed any changes in the first place. And also, once again, this is a group photo with all the other players, but they have changed the hair and updated the hair to be the newer version, and she then looks a little bit happier cooking instead of this one where she's maybe not so much as happy. And also that she's cooking much more as well, chopping up some vegetables, while this one is not doing anything at all. That might be because she's so unhappy. She couldn't get to cook, and now she can. And that's all I have to say with the Aatrox rework. Once again, his new voice actor is done great, but wish that he could have some of the old voice lines back. A lot of his animations and fighting style is fairly cool, but his ulti with the fearing of the minions might need to be changed. The healing aspect might need to be changed in the future, even though he's technically considered as really strong right now, but all things for Riot to decide on their own. And with that said, I hope you all have a nice day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.